Jeremy from OpticHouse.com. So this video is a little bit of a mixed bag because a little bit of it is some experimental artwork and then a little bit of it is some more work in progress on Morningstar. So a while back I had posted a video of me painting over some figure drawings from my figure drawing class, and I was pretty pleased with the way they came out, and I told myself I'd been meaning to try and do some more. And this is the next set of me doing more. And one of the things I wanted to change up was, instead of doing 4 different colors, I decided to put 4 pieces on one board and do all of them in purple. And then I figure, I'd do a set all in purple. Then when these are done, do another set all with a yellow orange or a green. Just pick a color palette or a color scheme for each set of 4. That way I can kind of work on all of them simultaneously. Although in this case I didn't end up going simultaneously. I just worked pretty far on the first one and then moved on to the other 2. Now, this is interesting because in looking at this, it's a work in progress, and I'm looking at it with a critical eye. Not necessarily beating myself up, but just saying, all right, well, what could I do to make this piece better? What would I have done differently if I were doing it over again? Because obviously I'm going to keep doing these experiments, keep trying, so it's worth analyzing. On this first one, I went way too dark, way too fast. I really should have kept it in kind of a lighter hue of the purple, used a little bit more medium and done it thinner, and glazed the color on. I was in too much of a rush and just started painting, layer upon layer upon layer until it got really dark, really quick, and then painting highlights on it. And that really isn't the approach that I'd used with the original pieces. When I did it the first time, it was a lot more of a light glaze and letting a lot more of the drawing show through. I adjusted the lighting a little bit because I realized there was too much of a glare from the light here, and I'll have to remember when I sit up to paint the next time to make sure I don't have the light going directly on the piece. You're not getting a glare on it. You can actually see what I'm doing. But yeah, this piece got way too dark, way too fast. I really should have glazed the colors and build them up. Also, because that will let more of the drawing show through. Not that I have anything against painting a piece because, I've been trained as a painter. I got my BA in fine art with my emphasis was on painting. But now I'm going in here and I'm painting these eyes, and I ended up painting them out and then trying them a second time because I wasn't happy with them. If I had been really, considering the fact that I was pretty happy with these drawings, that's why I chose to paint over them, I really should have tried to go much thinner and let a lot more of the drawing show through. So as I move to this next piece, you can see that the colors are a lot lighter, at least at the start, and trying to let more of the drawing show through. And, I'll continue to experiment with this process, continue to try, continue to play with it. And this isn't over yet, because I'm actually looking over, next to my drawing table right now. These pieces I still haven't finished. I have more work to do in terms of going in and painting the highlights. And the unfinished pieces are still sitting there on the drawing table. They're still taped to this large board that they're on. So, I decided to sit down and focus more on getting Morningstar done. And I didn't continue with the experimentation as much as I thought I was. I really thought that I'd be able to just once a week or once a month sit down and knock out a set of these pieces as a little bit of experiment. But the amount of time it's taken to make progress on Morningstar has superseded that. And, unfinished art projects are always the bane of one's existence. But I keep experimenting, keep trying, keep going. So the experiments, I've stepped away from them for a little bit, but I'll come back to them. So, on to the topic at hand, the always present Morningstar. And this is the opening page. This is page 1 of issue 5. If you've been following me on social media, I've been posting not just the finished ink pages, but now I'm actually in the process of gray toning them. So you can see what these pages look like in progress as I'm adding some tones in Photoshop. The book is still going to be in black and white, but the gray tones add a little bit more volume and depth, which were actually pretty necessary because the second half of this page, or the large lower panel, is going to make a large crowd scene, and I really needed those tones in order to separate out the the figures and give that sense of foreground, midground, background. And this top panel that you see me working on right now, it was felt very, very satisfying to lay down these large, chunky blacks. Now, it really gives the figure, the forms that I'm drawing, a sense of mass and solidity, which I'm always going for and trying to make things feel, like you can reach out and touch them, or like, just give them a sense of structure and depth. And these solid black masses here really just gave it a satisfying weight. What's weird is that I almost did a little bit of an Alfred Hitchcock kind of push in, pull out as I was doing this, because the very first panel takes up very little negative space. Or, it takes up very little of the space. It's just a little bit of black in the corner, but it's super, super close. It's a super, tight close up. Then as we zoom out a little bit, the figure is taking up more of the frame. And then as we zoom out, so you can actually see it's the head of a dead demon, kind of covered with maggots and flies. I know it's getting a bit grisly here, but it is a Western with demons and monsters. Stuff's going to get gritty. But yeah, as we pull out enough that you can see that it's a demon's head, it's now almost filling up the entire frame completely. And I think about that famous, the effect, the vertigo effect, where you have it where the camera is moving, pushing in on a character, but zooming out at the same time. So you get this push-pull happening simultaneously. And that's kind of what this panel felt like for me. And I'm pretty pleased with how this page came out. One of the things that I am concerned about, though, is that I've been trying to pay more attention to using a lot of black, to, paying a lot more attention to my sense of shadow. But in that, I've been doing less open line linear work. And I feel that it's worthwhile to be able to create a sense of depth and structure and volume without having solid shadows. Because, there's lots of artists, when you look at artists that are more animators, or someone like Claire Wendling, who has a very fluid line, very expressive, and doesn't need to fill everything with solid, chunky blacks. It's like the difference between someone who does an animation style art versus somebody like a Mike Mignola, who has very heavy, dense blacks. And I would say that my approach is somewhere in the middle ground between this. But when I first started working on Morningstar, it was a lot more open line, and it's been getting progressively darker and darker. And I even think about the fact of psychologically how that plays in with the subject matter. That's it for now. Check out my website, optichouse.com. If you enjoy these videos, please share them. Also, sign up for my weekly newsletter to get a free digital download and see what else I'm working on. Go be creative.